Hey everyone, so today we're jumping right into a story that gets to the very heart of what's going on in America. It's all about that huge gap between what you might be feeling in your own wallet and what you're hearing from the people in charge. Let's get right into it.
Just think about that question for a second. It really sets the stage for this entire conflict. It's a powerful way to frame a story that's all about a massive breakdown in trust, a situation where the very idea of economic reality is suddenly up for grabs.
So, to really get what's happening, you have to imagine two different Americas, both existing at the exact same time. In one America, families are really struggling to make ends meet. And in the other? Well, in that America, their struggle is just brushed off, dismissed as some kind of political game. Let's start on the ground with the unfiltered truth. This is Sarah's world. And her story, well, it could be the story of countless families all over the country who are dealing with this affordability crisis. We're not talking about complicated charts here. We're talking about the day-to-day grind, the reality of rent and gas prices stretching your budget until it just snaps. And then there's this. It's a really jarring contrast, right? While families like Sarah's are figuring out what to cut, the president's focus, as he says right here, is on renovating the White House. He's talking about it like it's a passion project. It just perfectly illustrates the disconnect we're talking about. One person's reality is a bare Christmas tree, and another's is getting the marble halls just right. And look, this disconnect isn't just a feeling or a couple of stories. It's actually a huge, measurable political problem. So let's take a look at the data. Okay, so this is absolutely crucial. It's how the crisis itself is being talked about at the very top. The president has straight up called the affordability crisis a con job, a political hoax. He's basically telling people that financial pressure you're feeling, yeah, that's not real. It's just a story my opponents made up. But the numbers are telling a completely different story. Economic confidence has absolutely plunged. It's at -30, which is a 17-month low. And that's not just some random number. It's a sign of really widespread anxiety and pessimism about where things are headed.
And here you can see the political fallout from that feeling. Just look at the drop among independents on the economy, from 41% all the way down to 21% in only a few months. I mean, that is a political earthquake. And with overall approval sitting at just 36%, it's pretty clear this isn't some small problem. It's a huge erosion of confidence.
And this isn't just abstract political stuff. This is what it looks like when it hits home. Families are planning to cut their holiday spending by an average of $229. That is the biggest drop Gallup has seen in decades. And it's a direct line from that bad economic mood to real decisions being made at kitchen tables all across the country.
So when you see numbers like that, you can probably guess what's happening inside the president's own party. This strategy of just denying the problem exists, it's starting to cause some serious cracks and a real sense of panic.
Over on Capitol Hill, the alarm bells are really starting to go off. The midterm elections are getting closer and closer, and a lot of Republicans are getting worried that ignoring what voters are going through financially could actually cost them control of Congress. They know the current strategy just isn't working. A recent special election in a very, very red part of Tennessee is being seen as a huge warning sign. So get this. A district the president won by 22 points just a year ago, the Republican candidate barely won by only 9. That is a 13-point swing. It shows that talking about these affordability issues is a really, really effective message for Democrats, even in places they're not supposed to be competitive. And here's the kicker. Tennessee wasn't a fluke. It's actually part of a bigger pattern we're seeing. In special elections in Florida, Louisiana, Tennessee, Democratic candidates are doing way better than anyone expected. And that trend is what's turning those quiet whispers of concern into full-blown shouts of panic inside the GOP. But this is where the story takes a much darker turn. What happened in Indiana during a fight over redistricting shows this whole thing escalating from just denying a problem to making direct threats. So here's how it all went down. The state GOP wanted this super aggressive new map. But in a pretty surprising move, 10 Republican state senators actually said no, and they refused to go along with it. Well, that act of rebellion got a direct response from the president, who called them traitors, and promised he'd make them pay politically. And from there, it escalated into outright intimidation. And the results were really scary. These lawmakers' homes were targeted with swatting raids, which are incredibly dangerous hoaxes. They got bomb threats. Their personal information was just dumped online for anyone to see. This is the kind of terrifying, real-world consequence that happens when a political disagreement blows up into a campaign of fear.
So all of this brings us to the big final question. When you put it all together, the public's anxiety, the slipping political support, the fighting inside the party, you have to wonder, how long can a house of cards built on just denying reality actually stand?
This chart really paints the picture. See, while the president's core base is sticking with him, you can see the edges of his coalition starting to fray. Those slices for his softer supporters and for independents, the exact people he needs to stay in power, they're getting bigger. And they're the ones who are increasingly blaming him for the economic squeeze they're feeling.
And if you look down the road, there are a few ticking time bombs that could make things a lot worse. Healthcare subsidies are set to expire, which could mean insurance premiums spike for millions of people. The housing crisis, that's not showing any signs of letting up. And it's all pointing toward the 2026 midterms, where the risk of losing Congress and basically crippling the presidency is very, very real.
Political analyst Jonah Goldberg really summed up what a lot of experts think with this one blunt phrase. He calls the whole strategy of telling voters that their economic pain is all in their heads political malpractice. It's just a huge gamble that doesn't seem to get that, at the end of the day, people are the experts on their own lives. Which brings us right back to where we started, with a question. The president says the affordability crisis is the con, but after looking at all the data, the personal stories, the political chaos, you have to ask yourself, what's the real con job here? Is it the economic pain people are feeling, or is it this huge, dangerous disconnect that's growing between the American people and their leaders? Thanks for tuning in.